There's this curious theory about these giant trees that used to exist before the flood of Noah. Supposedly, they were these massive plants with tree trunks the size of mountains, and this is what just blows my mind. See, we already know that trees produce oxygen, but my question is, what if these trees were like a lot bigger? Because if there was a bunch of these trees everywhere, then of course the amount of oxygen in the air would increase. Only something very strange happens to life under these conditions, because it turns out that the whole world would become completely unrecognizable. Everything would be bigger, taller, and stronger. Bugs would grow to ridiculous sizes. Animals would be massive. You could run for much longer without even breaking a sweat, but you could also live longer. So in this theory, right before God sends the flood, these giant trees were simply cut down, which reduced the amount of oxygen on the earth, ultimately shortening the lifespans of future generations.
The Book of Enoch tells us exactly what happened to the giant trees that were cut down. It mentions how the angels of God labored or cut down the trees in order to prevent the Nephilim giants from climbing up to survive the flood. We've been born with sight, but our eyes have become blind. They told you this is just pareidolia, that your mind is playing tricks on you. Well, your eyes have become traitors over time. So you do enough research and you come to realize that the majority of science is in fact pseudoscience to fit a narrative. We should know by now that many plateaus and mountains aren't rock formations, but the stumps of these giant trees that were cut down. And if you look closely at a lot of them, you'll see tree rings. Put the tree ring under a microscope and you will see geometric patterns of a hexagon. Take plant stems and you'll also see that each individual fiber is hexagonal in shape. This is what allows the trees to grow upwards into big beautiful trees that reach the sky. Now what's funny is scientists, or the Dark Kabbalah priests, tell us that this was made from lava. Since when does lava or magma cool down and make geometric shapes? Let's take a look at Devil's Tower. Again, they tell us that this was formed by igneous lava. Here we see climbers on individual hexagonal towers. The stems of Devil's Tower bend into the base of the ground just like a tree. We see examples of these cut down trees all throughout the world, and Enoch says that there were 200 of them. Now there's always connections within the Bible that point to the Book of Enoch so we can get more details. Just like in Genesis, it tells us that there were giants in the earth in those days. There's other verses that tell us all about these trees. Daniel chapter 4 verse 10, pay attention. I saw a large tree in the middle of the earth. The tree grew very tall and strong, reaching high into the heavens for all the world to see. I saw a messenger, a holy one, coming down from heaven, and he shouted, "Cut down the tree and lop off its branches, but leave the stump and the roots in the ground, so that everyone may know that the Most High rules over the kingdoms of the world." So even the Bible tells us not only who cut these tree stumps down, but why they were left there, to show the power and destruction of God and his angels. Now mud fossils. Are these really petrified giants? Well, in Enoch 16:1 it says, "As to the death of the giants, wherever their spirits depart from their bodies, let their flesh, which is perishable, be without judgment." So judgment of the flesh is to rot and go away, to decompose. But without judgment is to not decompose. So we have to think about, how could these giants be petrified? Well, what plays a major role in petrification? Water. And what happened after the trees were cut down? The Great Flood, a legend across every culture in the world. There's a reason that Enoch, along with many other books, have been removed from the modern Bible. These books painted a far too accurate description of not only our realm and where we live, but the history behind it. You can keep believing that this is all just coincidence, keep believing that you're on a spinning water marble heading nowhere, and evolution is real, that you're a cosmic accident, or you can do a little bit of research, find the truth, and find out that there is a creator who made this amazing realm, and that you were created for a purpose.
Giants, or more specifically, the remaining tree stump of a gargantuan tree that was chopped down by giants and has since become petrified over a long period of time, which essentially turns it into a rock. Part of the larger ancient giant trees theory, where it's said that trees up to 50 miles high covered the earth and were harvested by the giants told by every ancient culture's folklore, like Devil's Tower in Wyoming, Giant's Causeway in Ireland, Cerro-Watana in Venezuela, and Jugurtha Tableland in Tunisia, among many, many others. The nearby island country of Malta is also home to its own ancient megalithic temples like Hagar Kim, built with stones of such immense size that it's deemed impossible for regular humans to move and lift. Or Gigantia, which literally translates to place of giants on Malta's island of Gozo, where local legend says this temple was built by a giantess named Sansuna, whose largest stone weighs 50 tons, equivalent to about 35 cars stacked on top of each other. Estimated to have been built around 3600 BC, a whole 1,000 years before the first pyramids in Egypt were built, suggesting that a race of giants lived in Malta. Malta before a global cataclysm wiped them out. And in fact, the hypogeum of Halsaflieni, an underground necropolis on Malta dating back to about 4000 BC that was discovered by accident in 1902, contained over 7,000 skeletons of presumed giant bones, along with mysterious elongated skulls that were found by archaeologist Sir Temi Zamit, and were on public display in the Valletta Museum of Archaeology until 1985, when they were mysteriously removed without explanation. And yeah, Filfla Island was a tree these giants chopped down or something. Today, no one is allowed on it as it's a protected nature reserve and may also have some unexploded bombs laying around.
All right, hold on a second. So this is how trees grow. The bark's exposed, it's partially decomposed, and we can see the organization to the way the tree cells form and make hexagons. Until he zooms out, and he's standing in front of Devil's Tower, which is showing microcosm to macrocosm. You may be thinking, this is why many people have a hard time fathoming that Devil's Tower came from magma. Because last I checked, magma looks like this when it cools. So how is it that Devil's Tower looks like this? And as you know, if you look under a microscope, this is what the inside of a plant cell stem looks like. But you know what? We're past the point of it clearly resembling a tree. But the other question is, why did it get cut? Who cut it down? What did they cut it down with? And why would they not want us knowing the truth about our ancient history? And that's simply because if you find out the truth of this situation, you realize there are dozens of them around the world, if not over 100. And that would add credence to many ancient texts, the Book of Enoch, talking about trees that reached the heavens. Where did they go? Well, if they were cut down before the flood may have taken them away. Maybe they're sitting under the ocean. Maybe they got pulverized up. What did they cut them with? Well, if it is as described, we're talking angels cut it down. They wouldn't need a chainsaw or an axe. They're angels. Why would they cut it down? Well, it's said that's because if you ever read Jack and the Beanstalk or Jack the Giant Slayer, we're talking about giants here. Half the fairy tales talk about giants. And they weren't very nice to people. In fact, they would consume them. So apparently, God got mad, said, I'm going to wipe the slate clean. I'm going to send these angels down. You cut the trees down so the giants can't climb them. And then I'm going to flood the earth and get rid of them all. But not all of them are gotten rid of because we know what happened in Afghanistan in 2006 with the Afghan giant. But let me know if you believe this is the result of magma or something else in the comments below and follow for more.
So let me see if I got this straight. You're trying to tell me that this is a natural mountain? Oh, you son of a ballbag. This is Mount Roraima, and it's located between Brazil and Venezuela. And they claim, in fact, they swear it down, it was formed over 1.7 billion years ago from natural causes. Now you see, only people from America and England teach that this is a natural rock formation. Let's see what the locals say. Mount Roraima is a tabletop mountain in South America, and in the mythology of the local indigenous people, is considered the stump of a giant tree that once held all the fruits and vegetables of the world. This tree is said to have been felled by a mythological figure leading to the flood that reshaped the landscape. Oh, we've got you now. So let me ask you a question. Do you think that this is a mountain or a giant tree stump? And I know what you're thinking. Why are these giant tree stumps not made out of wood? That's because it's been petrified. A petrified tree is a fossil of a tree trunk where the original organic matter has been replaced by minerals, typically silica, while maintaining the tree's original structure. This process, called petrification, turns the wood into stone. So what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so YouTube, before we get into this video is for entertainment purposes only, nothing more, nothing less. With that being said, let's get into the video. So what if the mountains we've been told are simply volcanic formations are actually the remains of something far older? It's a question that has fueled countless debates among researchers, independent historians, and people who study ancient texts. So one of the most fascinating theories suggests that before Noah's flood, Earth may have been covered by enormous trees so massive they dwarfed anything we see today. While mainstream science does not support this idea, some people point to passages in ancient writings, particularly the Book of Enoch, certain biblical accounts as clues that the ancient world looked very different. Supporters of this theory argue that if Earth's atmosphere once contained much higher oxygen levels, life itself could have been larger. Ancient insects, reptiles, even humans might have grown to extraordinary sizes. they believe giant forests would have produced enough oxygen to sustain such an environment. So the Book of Enoch contains references to heavenly beings and enormous trees, while Daniel 4 describes a tree that reached toward heaven and could be, seen from every part of the earth. Some researchers, interpret these passages symbolically, while others believe they preserve memories of a forgotten prehistoric world. Yeah, so the theory becomes even more controversial when people claim that formations like Devil's Tower in Wyoming or the Giant's Causeway in Ireland are not ordinary rock formations at all, but the petrified stumps of colossal trees. They point to their unusual column-like structures and geometric patterns as evidence, though geologists explain these formations as natural volcanic rock created through cooling lava. Okay, yeah, so according to interpretations of Enoch, the trees were cut down before the flood to prevent the giants from escaping God's judgment by climbing above the rising waters. So whether these accounts are literal history, symbolic lessons, or ancient legends is still a matter of intense debate. So whatever your conclusion, please, these stories continue to spark curiosity because they challenge us to ask difficult questions about our past. Are these merely myths passed down through generations or fragments of our history that have been misunderstood over time? As always, the evidence and the interpretations is left for each of us to explore, discover. Please do not rely on this video as proof of anything that you've heard. Go ahead and do your own research. Like I said, this video is for entertainment purposes only. So we're gonna go back to the video's clips, watch the rest of the clips. If it's your first time to be on this channel, go ahead, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that every time I upload such videos, you guys will be notified. Let's go back to it.
Is that many years ago, the earth used to have giant trees that almost touched the sky until somebody came along and chopped them all down. But the eyes are useless when the mind is blind.
By now, I'm sure most of you have heard of or seen people making comparisons of these giant mountains with these flat tops, looking just like how a tree would look if it was cut down. And as fascinating as all of these things and comparisons are, there's a comparison that I had never made before, and that is with the rock that is probably the most famous rock in America, Mount Rushmore. Listen to this.
Okay, I'm going to show you where a large branch came.
It looks like the truth really is hidden in plain sight. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, go ahead and drop a like, drop a comment if you're like, oh no, not Mount Rushmore too. And as always, peace.
So the giant theory is one of those subjects that refuse to disappear, obviously. Every few years, new videos, photographs, and discussions emerge online with this AI thing. We're going to expect more of these things coming out. New trees, whatever designs, anything, encouraging people to take another look at strange landscapes, unusual rock formations, and ancient writings that seem to describe a world unlike our own. Okay, so whether you believe these ideas or not, it's impossible to deny how fascinating they are. But like I said, this video is for entertainment purposes only. Okay, so ancient civilizations across the world left behind stories of giants, enormous forests, great floods, catastrophic events that reshaped the earth, from Mesopotamia to Americas, from Europe to Africa. Flood traditions appear again and again. Some researchers believe these stories may, all preserve memories of one ancient disaster, while others see them as symbolic narratives explaining humanity's relationship with God and nature. So the Book of Enoch, although not included in most modern Bibles, expands on events briefly mentioned in Genesis. It describes the watchers, the Nephilims, divine judgment, and extraordinary trees. Because of its detailed descriptions, many alternative historians believe Enoch preserved information that later traditions either simplified or left out altogether. Yeah, so one of the biggest questions surrounding the giant tree theory is simple. If these trees really existed, where did they go? Some theorists suggest that they were destroyed before the flood. Others believe the flood itself buried or pulverized pulverized them beneath layers of sediment. Yeah, there are even those who speculate that remnants may still lie hidden beneath the oceans or deep beneath the Earth's surface. Again, these ideas remain speculative and are not supported by mainstream geology, okay? But they continue to inspire discussions because they connect several mysteries into one larger narrative. Yeah, then there are places like Devil's Tower in Wyoming, Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, Mountain Roraima in South America, and many other unusual geological formations around the world. Yeah, so to geologists, these landmarks are remarkable examples of volcanic activity, erosion, and millions of years of natural processes. Okay, however, supporters of the giant tree theory see something completely different. Okay, they notice what they believe are tree-like shapes, branching patterns, hexagonal structures resembling plant fibers. They argue that these formations look more like enormous petrified stumps that could lava columns. Okay, so whether that resemblance is meaningful or simply coincidence depends entirely on how someone interprets the evidence. Another controversial claim involves ancient megalithic sites such as those found on the islands of Malta. Massive stone blocks weighing dozens of tons continue to puzzle archaeologists because of the incredible engineering required to move them thousands of years ago. Traditional archaeology credits highly skilled ancient builders working together with indigenous methods. Alternative researchers, however, ask whether giants could have played a role. Stories are passed down through local folklore, even describe giant beings constructing temples, like lifting impossible stones and shaping landscapes with incredible strength. These legends exist in many cultures around the world. Yeah, does folklore preserve historical memories? You answer that, guys. Or are these simply stories created to explain monuments whose builders had long been forgotten? That's a question historians continue to debate. Yeah, so one topic often mentioned alongside giant trees is the discovery of alleged giant skeletons. Claims frequently circulate online that enormous human bones were uncovered and later hidden from the public. While such stories remain popular, verified archaeological evidence confirming an ancient race of giant humans has not been accepted by mainstream researchers. This is why it's important to separate established facts from speculation while still remaining open to asking thoughtful questions. Curiosity has always driven discovery. History itself is filled with examples of ideas once dismissed before later evidence changed our understanding of the world. At the same time, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that's a principle worth remembering regardless of which side of the debate you find yourself on. Yeah, so perhaps the greatest lesson from all of this isn't whether giant trees once covered the earth. Perhaps it's realizing how much of ancient history remains uncertain. Yeah, so there are still countless archaeological sites buried beneath deserts, hidden beneath jungles, resting under the ocean, or waiting to be discovered beneath layers of the earth. Every year, new findings reshape what we know about civilizations that existed thousands of years ago. So it's possible that future discoveries may answer questions we can't yet solve, or they may reinforce the explanations we already have. Either outcome teaches us something valuable. If there's one thing these ancient stories encourage us to do, is to never stop questioning, never stop reading, and never stop comparing different sources before reaching our very own humanly conclusions. Yeah, so as always, please remember that this video is presented for entertainment, discussion, and education, exploration of ancient texts and historical theories. References to the Book of Enoch, biblical passages, folklore, and alternative historical interpretations are included to explore the ideas surrounding this fascinating topic, not to claim them as established historical facts. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Do you think places like Devil's Tower and similar formations are simply the incredible work of nature, just as geologists explain, or do you believe they could preserve clues pointing toward a forgotten world before the flood? Please share your thoughts respectfully in the comment section down below. I read as many of your comments as possible, and your perspective might inspire our next investigation. Okay, if you enjoyed today's journey into ancient mysteries, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another exploration into history, biblical mysteries, archaeology, and the legends that continue to challenge everything we think we know. Please, until next time, stay curious, keep researching, and never stop asking questions. I will definitely see you in my next video. Please stay peaceful.